How has the trip gone settling from Florida up to Arkansas?
So far, the transition's been wonderful. I can tell you the reception of the people in Arkansas has been overwhelmingly positive. I have been really fortunate to meet and already start working with some of the best, most talented people I've ever worked with.
How much chance have you had to get out beyond Little Rock and start meeting with different districts and people in the state?
Well, we definitely hit the ground running. Governor Huckabee Sanders has run on improving education in the state of Arkansas as a number one priority, and she has set a high bar and expectation and rolled out some recent executive orders to be the blueprint to support our agency in doing that. So we have hit the ground running as well. This is day 3 for me here in Little Rock, and I've already met with Senate education members. I'm meeting with House education members today, and earlier this week I was able to meet with all the school district superintendents at one of their annual conferences and start building those relationships and seeing how we can collaborate and work together to implement this vision.
How much were you able to gauge the immediate demands from those superintendents at this point?
The response from superintendents has been overwhelmingly positive. Our superintendents know that education is a priority, and if we can work together to identify any obstacles or barriers and provide opportunities to improve, they're receptive, they're excited, and they want to see their children learn as well.
You're coming from a state and an administration that saw way more than its share of conflict, I guess, is in terms of education policy in different parts of Florida. How much has your skin hardened up to go into fights now that you move to a new state?
I think when people think about education, everybody's going to know that it's up to us to get it right. We're talking about the future of students, making sure they're on a path for success. We know that teachers are critical, principals are critical, school district elected officials are critical in making sure that that happens. And anytime we can have discussion and talk about different ways and strategies to improve learning is something that I welcome and enjoy that opportunity.
But in Florida, places and Virginia seem to be the most immediate things coming out of the pandemic, where there were a lot of vocal parents going to local school boards saying we want more say in what's happening. And you've also got places, even in Arkansas, which tends to not have as many of those conflict points, fires starting to flare up in terms of battles on these local levels. How much has what you've gone through in Florida with a lot of the bills that you had down there prepared you for what Arkansas seems to be, the direction Arkansas is heading?
Parents have a right to know what their children are learning. Parents have a right to know to find out what exactly the services are that are being provided to their children, and parents should have a seat at the table with school officials to outline the path to set their individual child up for success. And anytime we can engage in those conversations and have opportunities to be transparent and inform the community of what's happening in schools, that's a win for everybody.
How much do you expect? I saw you mentioned yesterday at the executive order signing that this is preventative, the executive order to root out indoctrination and to start laying the groundwork for the governor's plans. How much are you expecting, or do you think you might find in terms of programs that would be called indoctrination or CRT as you start exploring around the state?
Yeah. I think when we look at the tentacles of programs like critical race theory or indoctrinative materials, I'm hoping we don't find a lot of evidence of that. I firmly believe that school districts and teachers are going to teach to standards. They're going to use curriculum that's aligned with the standards, and they're going to leave personal beliefs and biases at the door. We should be teaching students how to think, not what to think. And as we go forward and support school districts, we're going to go in with that mindset and be supportive of what the learning is happening in their classrooms.
I think it's my colleague Jenna Bourne. I don't even know if she knows my name, but I know she ran into you in a similar situation like this down in Florida around Tampa, around the time when civics education was being bandied about in 2021. And in the conversation she had with you and in her subsequent report, it came out that these were preliminary and that there were concerns amongst teachers in Florida that this seemed to be too much of jingoistic, patriotic, not enough of providing all sides or allowing teachers to play devil's advocate. Are you satisfied with where the civics education standards came out in Florida, and do you think something similar in terms of shaping the standards here in Arkansas is on the way?
So standards are important. Standards are important to get right. What standards do is it sets the expectation of what each student should know and learn at each grade level in each subject. The State Department here in Arkansas is currently doing a review of those standards to make sure the standards are reflective of those expectations. If you change and update those standards, it should be done in a transparent manner. It should include relevant stakeholders. It should include experts and teachers and parents, and everybody should be able to provide input on those standards to make sure that all voices are heard, and at the end of the day, the state board can approve a product that will help improve learning.
Where do you stand in terms of public money following every student, no matter where he or she wants to go to school and where their parents would like their child to go to school?
Parents should have options available to them. And first and foremost, we want to invest in our public schools to make sure that they're some of the best options. But if you are a parent and your local school isn't going to meet the needs of your child, then there should be other opportunities available to that family. Whether those opportunities are attending another public school within a school district, a different magnet program, it may be participating in charter programs or even attending a private school. There's virtual options. It's about creating opportunities for each student to be on an individual path for success.
They cost money, and how much do you sense the governor and you think public money should follow students?
I think it's up to us and to work with the legislature to invest in opportunities that create those pathways for families to choose from. And whichever path that is, however we work with the legislator in developing and adopting policy to make that happen, is something that we're ready to get engaged in.
Could that include things like universal education savings accounts, that kind of thing, like we're seeing in Iowa just proposed one, Arizona's got one passed?
Yeah, I think those are opportunities. There's other states that are implementing best practices, and I think Arkansas is in a position where we can get a snapshot of what's happening in other states, but what also is going to be what's best for Arkansas. And at the end of the day, we need to do what's best for the students here locally. We need to do the best, what's going to support families, and we're going to do our best to be transparent and engage in those conversations.
This is some legislative sausage making, and I don't know if this is something you want to engage in, but supporters of teachers, the Democrats up there, want to see a clean teacher pay raise bill. They don't want to see it tied up in any big bill, all-encompassing bill. Do you know what the chances of that are, and do you have an opinion on whether that should be the way to go?
Anytime we have an opportunity to talk about investing in teacher salaries, it's something that it actually gets me excited about, because that really goes into recruiting, retaining, and recognizing the single most important factor that's going to improve learning. How those conversations get played out, what does that package look like? That's up to the legislative delegation to engage in those conversations. But I'm willing to be a partner with anybody that wants to talk about increasing teachers' salaries, because we need to get it right.
Gotcha. Anything else you would add that I haven't asked about?
Would you like to talk about the Arkansas Learns executive order yesterday and how that's going to guide the work we do here?
So yesterday was an exciting, monumental day for us here at the department, because Governor Huckabee Sanders ran on a LEARNS acronym, and it's about improving learning, empowering accountability, readiness, networking, and school safety. And yesterday we signed an executive order that sets the vision. It's the blueprint. It's the guiding document that tasked our agency with starting to roll up our sleeves and developing the strategies to implement these priorities. And what's exciting is that this vision is bold, it's innovative, and it's going to be implemented, and we're going to see an improvement in student learning, which is a win for the state.
A lot of folks were hung up, I think, on the sixth of the seven Tuesday executive orders, and then yesterday seemed like a whole lot coming out of everybody in terms of education. But blueprint is the best way to describe it. I mean, how many things? Usually an executive order starts something right away. It seems like we're getting right to work, but this is still more like the drafting table for what the governor wants you. Is that the way I interpret it?
This is the vision. Right now, today, we have 140,000 students in the state that go to a DRNF school. So to say we're not going to hit the ground running and act with urgency is going to put these students in failing schools further behind, and we need to start today to make sure that we're creating opportunities for those students to perform at or above grade level, and we're not going to stop working until we achieve that goal.